Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Today, one day after the Arizona Supreme Court upheld a 160-year-old law outlawing nearly all abortions, Republicans in that state's legislature threw away a chance to repeal the wildly unpopular ban. Arizona Democrats, who are a slim minority, just barely, in the Senate, tried to bring up legislation that would repeal the 1864 law, and in some senses calling the bluff of Republicans who said, oh, this is terrible. And yet what happened? Republican leaders in the State House removed the bill from the agenda. In the House, Republicans called for a recess before any votes could be cast on a similar bill. Democrats quickly reproached their Republican colleagues on the floor.
Shame! 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 Blood on your hands! Blood on your hands! Blood on your hands! Shame! Shame!
Arizona is now set to be ground zero in what will be the first true nationwide abortion election in this nation's history. It's the product of 50 years of anti-abortion activism by the Republican Party and conservatives. For half a century, Republicans have kind of argued out of both sides of their mouths about reproductive rights. This is important to understand. So, in one side, right, they called abortion murder, your baby killers, and they claim that fertilized eggs are full human persons. At the same time, they claim that their real objection to the right to an abortion, as enshrined in the Supreme Court's decision, Roe v. Wade, was that it prevented Americans from voting on the issue. They said it should be left to the states and to the democratic process. Well, thanks to the successful efforts of the Republican anti-abortion movement and Donald Trump and his conservative majority on the Supreme Court, abortion rights have been kicked back to the states. The right to safe and legal reproductive care is now up in the air in every state in the nation. Since the Supreme Court's decision overturning Roe, abortion rights have been explicitly on the ballot in statewide referenda or initiatives in 6 states, and in every single one, the pro-abortion rights side won, even conservative states. States that Donald Trump won, like Kansas and Kentucky and Ohio, where Republicans pulled out every trick in the book to stop it from even getting on the ballot. Arizona now will have this on the ballot in the fall. It's expected to be next, along with several others, including Florida. And of course, now this year, for the first time since the Supreme Court overturned Roe, we are facing a national presidential election. On one side, we have the man who, nearly single-handedly destroyed Roe v. Wade, as he will be the absolute first to tell you.
I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and, in fact, demanded be ended. Roe v. Wade. For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it. Roe v. Wade, I did something that nobody thought was possible, and Roe v. Wade was terminated, was put back to the states.
Point of fact there, not all legal scholars on both sides wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. That's nonsense. Now, on the other side of this election, there's a Democratic president, Joe Biden, who promises explicitly to restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land through legislation if he is able to work with the Democratic House and Senate. The thing about all this is, and it's really wild to watch this, I got to say, I don't think I've ever quite seen something like this in my 20 years covering American politics. Republicans, at least the ones with like a modicum of sense, understand they are in desperate trouble on this issue. It is just clear as day that voters are not in line with their position on abortion. So they're just running around saying anything they can to anyone, just trying to run away from themselves, from their own position. I mean, Donald Trump is the prime example. In a recent statement, desperately trying to create some distance from the political catastrophe of his own making that he keeps bragging about, he said he supported leaving abortion rights up to the states. Of course, that includes states like Mississippi, where a 13-year-old who's the victim of rape has to give birth to her rapist child. And this comes after Trump spent years just flip-flopping all over the place on the issue.
Well, look, I'm very pro-choice. I am strongly for choice, and yet I hate the concept of abortion.
But you would not ban it?
No. I used to.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that.
General, I can assure you. Hey, General, let me into the war.
I weigh onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheeling.
Sir, come on, what is it not? Please.